Welcome to Media Men Online. I am Dan. This is Isaiah.
Hello.
And spoilers ahead for Evil Dead Rise 2023. A twisted tale of two estranged sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of flesh-possessing demons, thrusting them into a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. The cast is Lily Sullivan as Beth, Alyssa Sutherland as Ellie. It really confused me when I learned the two actresses' names because I don't think I'd seen them in anything before. The children of Ellie are Gabrielle Eccles as Bridget, Morgan Davies as Danny, and Nell Fisher as Cassie. This is the fifth Evil Dead movie. We open up at a lake house. There's a guy on a drone. They kind of do this clever thing. So if you've seen the Evil Dead movies leading up, you know that whenever the spirits or the demons or whatever are coming for you, they do a first-person angle and it's kind of weaving through. We don't ever see what that is. Sometimes it's a vine. Sometimes it's, whatever. But they do
like the spirit.
Yeah.
The Deadite.
Yeah, the Deadites, which is a really dumb name. It felt like...
It's great.
Yeah. It was a guy with a drone, and it made it feel like the spirit was going for this girl, like right off the beginning. In turn, it is a couple out on the lake house with his girlfriend's friend. So the girlfriend is in the bedroom sick, and the other two are out on the dock or whatever. It turns out the girl's possessed, and everyone except the characters in the movie know what's going on. Does she spin her head around?
No.
Or am I? No, okay. I'm thinking of freaking.
She sits up in the bed and it's very exorcist-like. Something I found out, by the way, because you know how much I rag on like exorcism movies and possession movies.
Mm-hmm.
I've realized that these movies are actually technically possession movies.
Yeah.
But I think because they cut the exorcism part completely out, that's why I haven't really noticed, and it does feel different and unique. Where it's like there's a lot of possessions, but no one's ever trying to like exorcise the demons. It's just survive.
The girl's possessed, obviously. This is the first time I can remember one of the possessees puking up white slime. Like, this is a new thing for this movie.
I know they puke up a lot of stuff throughout the movies. I can't remember if it's white slime or not. Like, I know she in Evil Dead, Mia pukes up a ton of crap into the girlfriend's mouth.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was all black, though.
Yeah. The girl wakes up, she's possessed, and she kills the other two. Does she actually ever kill the girl or just the guy?
We don't see her kill the girl.
Okay.
She just rips her scalp off.
Just clean, grabs her, twirls her hair, rips her scalp clean off, which is the thing everyone's seen in the Red Band trailer that really sank to your core. The water after she kills the boyfriend, and it has the Evil Dead Rise banner in the back.
It's a great title.
Like, okay, this is how we're starting. And the whole time I was thinking, how are we connecting this back to the lake house? I was thinking, are they going to take the mom out, bring her to the lake house? How does this all tie in? But it didn't tie into our main story at all until the very, very end. It's
like a bookend. Even though there is some good gore and it's a great title reveal, it feels super detached from the entire plot. Outside of, I think, the aspect of, which kind of spoils it from, since they showed in the beginning of, hey, it's loose in the world now.
Right. Okay, yeah, that could be. By the end, I was thinking, okay, is this just going to be the sequel? Like, is this where we're going?
Yeah,
you had mentioned in passing when we were talking that Bruce Campbell was meant to have a cameo. Maybe it'll be.
He does have a cameo.
I didn't see him at all.
It's voice only.
The main setting for this movie is the apartment building. It's Ellie's apartment it's a very old rundown apartment, and they do mention that it's being condemned. It'll be demolished soon. Ellie with her three kids, Bridget, Danny, and Cassie, and Sister Beth is there to visit. Sister Beth, we see a clip of her. We don't really know where she is, but she's in the bathroom taking a pregnancy test, which of course, if you've seen any movies before, she's pregnant.
Yeah, and they do call her like a groupie, and they're asking about like some sort of like audio hookup. So I think she's probably at some sort of like DJ concert type of deal.
Yeah. The call to action for this movie is there's a there's an earthquake that opens up a secret area, and there was rumors that the kids mentioned that there was an old bank vault that was, you know, buried beneath, that kind of thing. It doesn't turn out to be a bank vault, though. It looks like a place that you'd never want to be. Like, there's crosses hanging everywhere. There's the, you know, all these things are buried beneath this apartment building to keep the Book of the Dead buried, for lack of a better term. And Danny, of course, because we need one asshole to screw everything up, heads down. He picks up the book. There's some records that go with it, and he brings it back up. Now, I don't know about you, but if there was a book that had teeth and only opened when it drank your blood, I probably wouldn't do anything with it.
If we're being honest, wouldn't that just make you more curious about what's inside this book? I don't know. It's hard to say, but it's like with that kind of book, it's like, what is this? Because, you know, in the real world, you don't think that demon possession is going to be real or anything. So it's like, what harm could reading a book actually do? So if I saw something like that, I don't know. I couldn't help but be a little bit curious. Now, once I saw the stuff inside, would I continue to read it or play these records with the book? At the same time, I don't know. Because in my mind, especially like in the mind of him, it's just some records and just some book.
Fair point, because we're in this world where we know that there's demon possession. But if it was like us in the real world right now, you know, you have to think your mind would go a little more curious than just don't do it, as you said, as an audience member. That's fair.
Yeah. And it's also different because, I mean, like, if I saw that freaking book, I'd be like, oh, this is the Evil Dead book. I ain't touching that.
Yeah.
That's the Necronomicon Mortis.
Another question I had, is this the same book, or are there multiple copies? Did they have a print press that they rattled out, or?
I know that the book in Evil Dead is named differently than the book in The Evil Dead. It's still called the Book of the Dead when they say that, but I know, like, it's the Necronomicon Mortis in, you know, the Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness.
Yeah, so we might be dealing with some sort of situation here. So this is a completely new book we're going to have to go with. Unless someone added teeth recently.
I clicked on a strange book and it brought me to, like, the actual, like... Okay, this book is called, in Evil Dead, it's called Naturum Demonto. I mean, maybe it's just, you know, a same name, different language. So maybe it is the same book, but I don't think it had teeth in it in The Evil Dead. It did not have teeth in it in Evil Dead. No, it didn't have teeth in the 2013 one. Nope. It was just stitched together flesh. Because, you know, like in the original trilogy, it has, like, the face on it. In Evil Dead, it's like, it looks like just human flesh stitched together. And then this one, it didn't really have any stitches on it. It just looked like dried flesh with veins through it. And then the teeth. So maybe it's the same book that just changes. Because the contents of each book is different. Because, you know, like in the Evil Dead trilogy, it's about basically how Ash comes from the past and is like the hero who will clear out like the darkness and whatnot. In Evil Dead, it's about the ritual to summon the abomination. And then in this one, it's just, you know, a prediction of events that leads to like their own version of some sort of abomination at the end.
So Ellie's the victim when Danny plays the record of the guy read the book of the priest or whatever from, you know, from whenever. They don't specify when this is from, but it couldn't have been too long ago if as...
They do. It's 1912.
Oh, okay.
The record. He says, like, it was, like, the second time they play the record. I know, because I was paying attention, or I wanted to hear what year it was. So I was like, is this after or before Evil Dead? And it's definitely before, because he said 1912, or something along those lines.
Ellie's tied up similar to, you know, the previous, except instead of vines, it's elevator cables. And I thought we were going to get the the situation that we get in the other ones where the vine just goes where it goes, but they did spare us from that. So I think it's presumed that happens. If you know what happened in the previous ones, then you kind of assume it. At least I did. But I'm glad I didn't have to see it again. So
yeah, because that was quite a controversial part of the remake, where it's just like, they wanted to keep it similar to what happened in the original, but people's sensibilities have, what they can, what's offensive and what's not offensive has changed. Because yeah, I mean, I agree where it's just like they don't need to show it, but even when they did in the original, I was just like, okay, I get why. I don't see this as offensive.
No, it's not. It's just people are so sensitive now. It's a horror movie. Stuff happens that you don't want to happen to people. And that's the whole
point of that movie, I think, like I said earlier. It's all about making you uneasy and uncomfortable.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's, people are complaining about this girl having a vine shoved up, but they're not complaining about a tongue split in half or a girl's arm chopping her own arm off.
Sawing
mostly.
Her jaw.
Yeah. Yeah. People are just super weird. But so I think we could go blow for blow on kills at this point, but maybe we'll start with you and just like, what was your favorite kill moment or like creepy moment of this movie?
It's hard to pick one because Alyssa Sutherland, who plays, Elle, she does an amazing job. Like, I think it's probably the best looking Deadite and moving Deadite in all the movies.
I would agree with that.
Like the face, just like the red hair, her eyes, I don't know, just everything. She just creeped me out so much. She's just so terrifying. She's just, every time she's on screen, it's a joy. In a complete non-joyous way.
Yeah, and a lot of the older Evil Dead movies, the Deadites, if you will, can look really cheesy, but she just looked like horror hell, like creepy.
It was this great combination from both of them, where like, they look really different and over the top in the original trilogy. In the remake, they basically look, I think, outside of. No, because even Mia, she kind of looks just like Mia, except she's. It was always funny, the comparison that I made. She looked like a Tia Doma from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, like that kind of makeup just stuck on her, that actress. Yeah. In that one, but this one, like the red, I think is what really did it.
Yeah.
It just really makes her pop and seem different and terrifying.
Just all of the performances, by the way, are fantastic. The little girl is very cute, and you just feel like, please don't let her die. Like, she's very cute. She has a little bit of a speech impediment, which I think adored me to her more. So Bridget is the daughter, and the oldest daughter, and she gets infected. And her thing, she pukes up some like little bugs. When we next see her, she's chewing on glass to try and, quote, kill the creepy crawlies. And they show this close-up of glass sliding down her esophagus.
Yeah.
It's just...
I wish they didn't show that in the trailer.
Oh, they did show it in the trailer.
In the Red Band one, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this movie is a good combination of both new and old.
Yep.
For the Evil Dead franchise, because it has some of those really, like, gross out moments. Not as much as it was in 2013. But it has some of those gross out moments, but it's also very silly at some times, which it works really well. The movie has some great lines, like I know it's in all the trailers, but even when it was in the movie, I was just like, man, I love that line. Mommy's with the maggots now.
Yeah,
it's like, it's such a good delivery, good line.
Delivered magnificently, like just across the board, thumbs up. Even the side characters do a great job.
Yeah. Another part of like unintentional comedy where like she rips out the guy's eyeball and then like chucks it out through her mouth into the other guy's throat when he chokes to death on it.
Yeah.
We're just like, it's a very morbid thing that's happening, but that's really silly.
Yeah, that's got to be the first death by choking on eyeball in movie history. Danny and Bridget get into it after she's completely, overtaken. He sets her on fire after she stabs him a few times. So there's a point.
This has to be a different book. So because I wrote this down in my notes and I just remembered. In the 2013 movie, the ways to kill them are burn them alive, dismember them, or bury them alive. And they specifically say in the recordings that none of those three things worked on the Deadites made from this book.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Where he's like, I burned them, and they just cackled and continued laughing. I, buried them alive, and they just came ripping out. And so I even went to the last thing, which is dismemberment, and their different parts were still laughing and getting at me.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a moment. When that happens. There's a point where Bridget's standing there. She gets stabbed through the mouth by Cassie, the youngest daughter. And it was just kind of a defensive thing. And she's standing by the window. And all I could think, you're looking at it from the perspective of the sister of Beth. And all I could think was run and kick her through that window. That would have been me. Maybe I could have added some comedy to this movie and just absolutely just freaking chest kicker through the window, similar a la Dave Chappelle in Chappelle Show, if anyone remembers the Rick James episode.
What did you think of the cinematography in this movie?
Just in general, like I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that peephole like scene where she's just looking through the peephole, watching all the neighbors just get destroyed. It's shot so well. It's very similar to the Suicide Squad. Not Suicide Squad, but the Suicide Squad, where Rick Flag and Peacemaker are fighting each other, and all you see it is through like the reflection of his helm.
So the moment where Beth she wants to listen to the record to see, if there's anything in there that can help her. There's a point where Ellie gets up. She finally figures out, because there's a cat that one of the neighbors had that gets up through the vents. Now, maybe I missed it, but this is the first time that I can remember a cat in a horror movie that doesn't die needlessly. You see the cat once, it meows, and then all it's there to do is show Ellie the path through the vents. So in terms of the cinematography, my favorite part, so you mentioned the keyhole, which is an excellent, it's an excellent scene. But when Beth is listening on the headphones, so she can't hear anything around her, Bridget's fighting Danny, everything's going wild, Cassie's trying to let the mother, there's all chaos going on around her, but she's listening to the headphones. Ellie gets up in the vents and drops down behind her, and it's coming as the audience member, and you're looking in the background and you can just barely see shadows moving around. And the only way that Beth survives is she sees the reflection of Ellie in the window.
Just using shadows and something moving slightly in the background to just put you off ease. This movie does a great job with its horror, because it is very campy and silly and violent, but it also has some great, what I like. This movie doesn't have any jump scares, does it?
No.
I don't think it has a single jump scare or one that's intended to be a jump scare. Like, it has, intense moments where, it rushes up into her and hits her into the elevator, but it's not really a jump scare.
Nope.
It's just a sudden thing that happens. But it has a lot of, tense moments in this movie. Like the final act, which I know we're going to get into.
Yeah, you feel everything. If you've gotten into with these characters at this point, you feel every moment of it. And that's one of the things that I enjoyed most. Beth and Cassie are escaping. They take the elevator down. It fills up with blood, and the weight limit of the blood. But the funny thing is if it's 8.3 pounds per gallon, you could fit, 1,000 gallons on that. So obviously that's an exaggeration, but you can fit a ton of liquid on an elevator. So it broke the cable, it shot it down, and there was a full Shining reference with Cassie and Beth scattering all over the floor. So we show Ellie. This part was just so freaking sick. Ellie, Bridget, and Danny are all for some reason digging their hands and arms and stuff into, and they become this.
And they show you a picture in the book.
Yeah.
Of a person with all these different arms. It's like, oh, I see what's going on here.
Yeah, it's like the spider of human organs. It's very gross. So the whole final scene is them attempting to escape. It reminded me of Resident Evil 2 when you're trying to escape in the police station, but it's all locked up.
Kind of reminded me of 3. I guess just with the whole Nemesis just evolving.
Oh yeah,
just being this contorted mess at the end.
Yeah. Contorted mess. That is the perfect description. Oh my god. And there's just this cool scene where we get a return of a chainsaw, which is obviously an iconic weapon, and we get
it doesn't feel forced either.
Yeah, and also with a wood chipper being there, you would think you would have a chainsaw nearby, because if you're going to cut a tree down to chip the wood, you would need a chainsaw. So it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's this awesome scene where the gate for the garage is closing and that monster is in there. And both Cassie and Beth slide out, but the monster grabs Beth back in. So Beth has to break back in to save Cassie. And there's this awesome scene where the monster is trying to shove Beth into the wood chipper, but Cassie saves her. It's kind of a back and forth. So what did you think about this final scene? I mean, I thought it was awesome.
My thoughts are on this final scene is very similar to my thoughts on the final scene of Evil Dead, where really cool in concept and the way it plays out is really interesting. It was just the creature itself ended up disappointing me in slightly different ways. In Evil Dead, they build up this abomination, and it thematically makes sense that it looks just like her, but like kind of thin and withered, because the whole entire point of the movie is supposed to be like, this struggle with addiction and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like she's fighting this, other version of herself. But, it's like for building up this abomination and how amazing the scene is where it's just raining blood, where like you can't even show any of this stuff on YouTube, really, like any of that final part, because there's just so much blood that it's raining demonetization. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, the creature kind of disappointed me in 2013, and with this one, it was disappointing because we never get a good look at it. Part of the fun with Evil Dead is, all the Evil Dead movies is, we never get a good look at, or, they hide the creature in the shadows before showing it in its full glory in the end. Mm-hmm. And you never get a good look of what this thing looks like with the different arms and legs sticking out. Maybe it's because they couldn't do it too practically, or it wouldn't have worked. And, the great thing about all the Evil Dead movies is they're all very practical. There's hardly any CGI. Like, of course there's CGI in the more newer movies because it's needed for things, but it's more so to enhance the practical effects.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing with Evil Dead, was it was coming out during a time where all these movies, like the Thing remake or prequel, where it's just all CGI, and it's like, let's bring it back to practical and show why it still looks better than CGI any day.
Right.
That might have been the reason why, but I want to get a picture of what this creature looks like because it seems really cool in concept. You just never get a good look at it because it's like all three of them combined into one with like their arms sticking out in different spots and their feet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I liked the ending. It's just like there's this one little disappointing thing about it that really nagged on me, just like Evil Dead 2013.
Yeah, and the whole
really great concept though, man, just
for sure. And the visual of Beth just being covered in blood as she's sawing this monster thing into the wood chipper is just awesome.
It's like the same exact thing in 2013 where they take the chainsaw, put it in the head, and just drive it.
Yeah,
and it's once again things that it's like, okay, it's just like that movie, but it doesn't feel forced or just for the sake of nostalgia.
Yeah. And
it feels good to see.
And as we talk more about it and compare a little bit to the other movies, I do like the idea of multiple books that have different meanings for different people, or maybe depending on who opens it. Maybe it's the same book, but it changes to depending on who opens it. I don't know. Let us know what you think about that, because it's really interesting. Just the difference between.
Yeah.
But
I think the movie would have been perfect if it just ended with her walking out, where it's like, just like how Evil Dead was supposed to be about dealing with addiction and overcoming it, this one's supposed to be about the acceptance of being a mother figure and, taking responsibility for your family.
Yep.
It's, I love how each of these movies tackle something like that, and it just really nails that message throughout. And it's kind of ruined by having that, like we talked about in the very beginning, this bookend with this girl coming. It's just like, why did this need to be here?
That's why this has to be a sequel.
Forced.
It has to be, because if this isn't a sequel tease, so at the end, after everyone walks
we saw
away,
what happened already.
Right, but the demon person's still alive. So there's got to be something to do with that, because at the end it shows this girl who apparently, through the whole earthquake and everything, was just chilling in the apartment. She wasn't on the same
like
floor, but
something.
yeah. She just walks out and she gets possessed because she
does notice. Thankfully, she's not completely stupid.
Yeah, she notices all the blood all over the floor. But yeah, it would be a super weird thing if it didn't have anything to do with the next movie.
If we do get a sequel, I don't want it to be. I want it to be like this sequel was, where it's completely disconnected. Don't have it be like, this cabin in the woods thing. Give us something else, something different, something unique. Maybe give us something even a little bit more Army of the Dead-esque, where it's just like you have an army of Deadites now. Like they're in some war-torn country.
Yeah.
And it's like both the sides have to work together to combat this Deadite, force. I don't know, it's just the possibilities are endless. I think that's what's great about the Evil Dead franchise.
Yeah, just give us good stories and that kind of thing, and the
Deadites are fun.
Yeah,
that's what makes them fun. They're just there to screw with you.
Yep.
And I was disappointed. I was hoping more from the cheese grater. It was nowhere near it, and maybe because they're just trying to turn down this movie in general. Like, it just seems like she takes. I don't even remember there being any blood when she rips off her skin with the cheese grater, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Or because I see it in the trailer where she puts it on her leg, and then it's just like, oh god, I know what's gonna happen next. It's just gonna rip the flesh off, and I don't know. It didn't really show me too much.
You want to move on to ratings and numbers and shit?
Yeah, let's do it. I can't help but feel slightly like I was disappointed. But the more I thought about it, it's like, it wasn't disappointment. It was just like what I talked about with the ending, where it's just like, I think that's just how I was left, is like, I didn't like the book ending thing. I typically don't like to do like decimals with my score, so I'm going to say it's 7.
Mm-hmm. This movie, in my opinion, accomplished everything it set out to do. It accomplished everything that I wanted to happen for the most part in these movies. It was creepy, it was gory, but it didn't feel like gore for gore's sake. So I'm contemplating if this is my favorite movie of 2023 so far, and I think it is. I'm going to give this an 8.8. Every single thing that I needed out of an Evil Dead movie, this movie gave it. It respected where it came from, but it was also its own thing. And the performances across the board were top notch. Even the little girl.
Oh, yeah.
Child actors can really make or break a movie if their roles are too big, but she had a minor role, but she was also adorable and cute, and also believable as
it's her first role ever.
Believable as a terrified child. Oh, it's her first role ever. Awesome. Oh. Give all 5 of these actors more roles, please.
More stuff.
My goodness.
That's a nice thing. It's a small cast comparatively, and Evil Dead just does that in general. I think except for Army of Darkness, where they go big for that movie. But it's all about like having this small group of people that are just tortured. And I thought when I saw the big city that they were going to make this like Scream 6, where it's like, okay, they're going to New York City.
Yes.
Oh boy, that just means everything's going to expand. But they don't. And I think that's what kind of plays off it, where it's just like a hop, skipping away. If it wasn't for the height that you're at, there's more people that you could go for help. But you're stuck up here on this top floor.
Yes, it did a clever way of isolation in a big city, because I believe they're in LA, aren't they?
I don't remember what city they're in. It'd be interesting to figure out where that is comparative to the cabin in Evil Dead.
We have 12,000 plus ratings on IMDb for a 7.4 out of 10. The majority, there are 3.8% of the ratings are a 1 out of 10. 20.5 are a 10 out of 10, but the most common number is 24.2% of people gave it an 8 out of 10. So right there with us. And the numbers as of today, as of recording, April 23rd, 2023, Evil Dead Rise domestically, 23.5 million. Now, this does not include Sunday's numbers, so we'll get those coming soon. 16.8 million internationally for 40.3 million worldwide. Let us know what you thought about Evil Dead Rise down in the comments below. All right, so on that note, we will catch you guys later.